This is the Mobile Tech Podcast, brought to you by worldpodcasts.com. Now here's your host, Tech Girl, Miriam Joie.
Brought to you by Mint Mobile. Stay tuned for a special offer at the end of the show. Hi, and welcome to the Mobile Tech Podcast. I'm your host, Miriam Joie, and today is Thursday, September 26, 2024, and I'm here in New York City with Nirav Gondia. Hi, Nirav.
Hello, darling.
How are you?
We get to do it in person.
I know, it's the best.
I know.
And why are we in New York? Because Samsung just released some stuff. And so we are going to talk about that today. And we're also going to talk about Meta, because for the first time in a while, I've really been excited about Meta.
Yeah.
And then we're going to talk about Xiaomi, because they just launched a bunch of phones, some of which I have right here. So yes, it's in a case, but let's talk about all that. So let's start with Samsung. 3 things at Samsung. Well, 4 maybe. There's 2 tabs. So this is like the kind of fall edition of Samsung Unpacked, which means that we get kind of like the leftovers for the year, right?
Well, it's funny because FE could literally mean fall edition.
Oh,
It's fan edition.
Oh, nice. I like it. So basically, yes, the fall edition, the fan edition device as well. There is really a phone, Galaxy S24 Fan Edition. There is 2 tabs, Galaxy Tab S10 Ultra and Galaxy Tab S10 Plus 5G. Yep. And then...
And non-5G.
Yes. Oh, there's non-5G too?
And there's a 5G with the Ultra.
Is there a 5G with the Ultra? See, yeah. I didn't know that. I thought but all the materials I got were...
Weirdly, I looked at the spec sheet and I don't know if the spec sheet is wrong, but the Ultra doesn't have millimeter wave in the 5G model and the Plus does.
Wow. Well, one of them is clearly for the carriers. That's what
it's always going to be the Plus. It's
right?
$1,000 device. It's the Android alternative to the iPad Pro.
The final product they announced was really a product they've already launched in June, but this is the LTE version, which is the Samsung Galaxy Watch Fan Edition, or FE, which doesn't have a number because it's the first one, which is kind of odd, actually, isn't it? That they haven't made a Fan Edition watch yet until now.
What's really interesting is, couldn't they just align everything? Why not? At this point, we have 10 in the tabs. We have 1 in the Watch FE, but the Watch 7 is the regular one. But we also have a Watch Ultra, which is the first edition. I'm just going through the product lineup. We also have 24 in the phones, which seems to be aligned, which is good. But
it's a mess.
I'm confused.
I don't even want to continue this because it's a mess. Look, I'm recording with a Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. For the record, great phone for recording video. You know, I also use my iPhone for recording video, but I have tons of storage on this, so I don't have to worry about it. But here's the thing. Samsung makes great phones, and I think this S24 Fan Edition FE is pretty interesting. I'm just not sure where to place it because you can get such discounts on the S24 and the S24 Plus right now. Where does this phone fit in?
You said it right with the tablets. This is not a $650 phone. Yes, that's the list price. This is the carrier special. This is going to be the phone that, hey, sign up for 5G service, get a free Galaxy. This will be the Galaxy.
Yeah, get 1 line and get a 2nd line for free of the Galaxy, whatever.
And it wouldn't just be a Galaxy whatever. It'll be a Galaxy S24.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's why. It's got to have the same context for all the marketing that's
worked
this year.
Having LTE is the same thing. We'll throw in a Watch LTE for you.
This is where I expect this on Verizon. I think we'll see this on Verizon.
I think I got PR from Verizon.
I'm not surprised.
Hi, George. I think there's also deals from AT&T and T-Mobile. Usually they send them to me, but for some reason I don't have them. Look, the thing that the takeaway here is I'm going to talk about the phone a little bit because I think this phone is actually interesting. And, you know, when I talked to my editors about it, about these tablets as well, I think there was a big gulp, like virtually speaking, on the other end of the line. Like it was a text messaging thing, right? Like we were messaging and they were like, what do you mean Exynos 2400E? What do you mean MediaTek Dimensity 9300 Plus? Like, this is what is in the tabs. Like, holy crap balls.
So this is the biggest thing. Like, there are some really telling points in that press release, which I just read with the newsroom. I read far too much. And I'm going to go
You read the press release?
Oh, I did, because I had to look.
Oh, you had to write up the stuff.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time writing today, people.
I'm doing that later.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
It's the joys of having editors who are like, so is it ready yet? Love you all.
Well, they
Love
did.
you.
So
Anyway.
I sent them all my photos and they did a news article. So go to Hot Hardware right now. You'll see my story. But before that, you'll also see a news article.
There you
my
go.
Photos. Anyway,
like
carry on.
So there are some interesting. So first, I leaked, for lack of a better way to put it, when I was at Analyst Day for MediaTek back in April. I was the one who tweeted, "This is breaking news. We're going to see a flagship MediaTek device." They were really clear to call it a device. We're going to see a flagship MediaTek device in the US this year. We went through phones. We went through the OnePlus Pad, which we should definitely talk about in the context.
We should, because, I haven't talked about it much, and it's freaking awesome.
We'll come to that, because I think it's definitely worth talking about in the context, especially today, and all of that. But what was really interesting is they were clear about device. We have a flagship MediaTek device in the US, and I'm loving this idea of a Dimensity 9300 Plus. We've seen that, I forget which phones, but we've definitely seen that in a few phones. It's
this phone.
It's 14. Okay, it is a phenomenal chipset.
It's a really great chipset.
But what's really fascinating is the press release, if I remember correctly, quoted over the Tab S9 Ultra, which had an 8 Gen 2. So we're not talking, full on.
You don't want to compare to that, because the only alternative really in 2024, if anybody else made a tablet that wasn't with a Dimensity 9300 Plus, everybody would put an 8 Gen 3 in there. So
True,
I don't like their comparison.
I see it because it's year on year, etc. We're not going to be able to do a direct comparison, because it's not like, hey, Ultra is one, Plus is another. But they were like, I think it was 18% CPU, 25% GPU improvement, and 16% improvement in NPU efficiency.
And you know what they told me?
What?
Also?
Yeah.
I said, why? Why wouldn't you go with Qualcomm? I mean, I was on board because I love MediaTek chips.
Same.
So here's the thing, I was like, why not? And they're like, because, they probably have a special deal where they can get the chips in quantity. So the price is probably not the biggest thing. Here's what he told me, the Mark guy. He said thermals. And GPU performance was the reason they picked that chip.
Whoa.
Right?
So I understand thermals. Devil's advocate, I would never have pegged GPU performance, but it actually makes sense.
I think it's in the context of thermals.
Yeah.
I don't think he's just saying GPU performance as a pure side-by-side. I think the Qualcomm is still possibly faster, but it's more like, what kind of thermals can you get for the same performance?
And remember, this tablet is 5.4 millimeters thick.
I know.
With millimeter wave. Wow, Tab S Plus is 5.6 with millimeter wave. It's got the aluminum. We're not talking iPad. Similar thickness to an iPad Pro M4. I truly hope that this is the starting point for the evolution of, we're going to see MediaTek flagship phones. We're going to see MediaTek flagship, more tablets, more devices. And that is amazing, because
in this market, you guys are
US,
probably
outside
in
the US,
India right now are
there.
going who cares? Because you've had them, but we haven't had them. In fact, I think this phone, the 14T Pro, is the first phone in my entire collection right now that's a 9300 plus.
Really? Yeah, well, I'm wondering what else is a 9300 plus.
I never got the Vivo X100 series that had 9300.
So I have an X100 Pro that has a 9300.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is it 9300 or
what
plus?
What did Motorola do this year? I know that they
did 7300.
Was it 73? Oh, it was 7300.
It's in the Razr Minus.
Yeah, in the Razr Minus. Gotcha.
And in the Edge non-Pro.
Interesting. Now the real question is, are we going to see a Samsung phone?
See, so let's go back to the Exynos, because this is the thing, right? So we just talked about the MediaTek chip. That's in the tabs. And we'll get back to the specs on the tabs. I want to talk about the specs on the phone. This phone is, again, I kind of question this phone, not because I have any issues with it. Actually, I was pretty impressed, because in the past, they've cut corners in some places where I was like, kind of like the original S20 Fan Edition had a plastic back, a glasstic back, as Samsung said. This, I think, is actual glass.
Or at least
And-
it feels
No,
like
they
it.
said Victus, both
Okay.
front and back. And then frame is aluminum, which is nice. Metal frame is always nice. It's a 6.7-inch display,
FHD
1080p,
plus.
yeah. And it's got AMOLED 120 hertz or 60 hertz, so it's variable refresh, but it's not LTPO. It's pretty bright. Not like Galaxy S24 bright, but it's something like 1600 nits or something. And Exynos 2400E. Nobody could tell me what the E means. I think enhanced is what I'm thinking.
When was the 2400 launched?
I don't know, but the point is, with the S24 in some markets.
Was it?
I double check because I thought the S24 was only Snapdragon, right?
That's what I thought.
So that's what I got from a PR person. So I'm like, maybe they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, let's take a look.
Okay, let's find out. S24.
So the 2400E is an underclocked version of the 2400 found inside the S24 and S24 Plus.
I was right.
So it's not the enhanced, it's the underclocked version.
Oh, underclocked. Well,
it's 100 millihertz lower clock speed.
That's
prime
in
CPU
my book.
core.
That is enhanced. Okay. So look, the thing is, here's the thing you have to understand. This phone felt really nice. It has all the things. The cameras are very similar to the S24 and 4 Plus. The only difference is the telephoto, and I haven't been able to find anywhere in the specs whether the telephoto is OIS or not, because on the S24 and Plus, it does have OIS. So it's the same main sensor, 50 megapixel OIS, phase detect autofocus, pretty decent sensor. I have the f-stop somewhere, but it's an 8 megapixel 3x telephoto. So basically, instead of a 10 megapixel 3x telephoto. So basically, slightly detuned, but I can't figure out if it has OIS or not. If it doesn't, it's a bummer. I hope it does. 12 megapixel ultra wide is the same as the S24 as well. So main sensor is the same, ultra wide is the same. Front camera is also detuned a bit. Instead of the 12 megapixel that they upgraded everything to this year, it has the old 10 megapixel that was like multiple generations of phones. And then the battery is a little disappointing considering it's a 6.7-inch display. It's a pretty decent sized phone. It's only 4,700 milliamp, which nowadays pretty much every phone, especially mid-rangers, are 5,000.
But by Samsung standards,
no, it's fine.
Also, does that not make it higher than the S24 or the 24?
I don't have to look it up. Do you have them here?
I do not, but I'm about to look it up. It's 4,900.
So, yeah, so it's slightly small. That's what I'm saying. It's slightly smaller.
But this is, I think, the key takeaway. If you look at the FE, you are taking the 24 Plus, you are shaving tiny amounts off it, very tiny amounts off it, and you're shaving 35% off the price tag.
It's not bad.
You have the affordable S24.
Yes.
Yeah, you have the affordable.
Oh, I see what you're saying, because you're talking about the Plus right now.
You take the Plus. You use the comparison as the Plus. You are taking the affordable. The reality is, having all my years in retail will tell me that there are people who will walk into a store and go, look, I want the S24 because I've seen the marketing. But
my budget is X.
My budget is X. Both, and it's never at the upfront. It's always at the monthly level. The cost profile of this, and likely this is a lot of parts that are being recycled from previous devices, and that
it's part spinning.
It's part spinning. It's the supply chain that Apple made just genius in many ways. It's what they do. It's what all these companies do, and you have to do because you're committing to, when you make these phones, you're committing to X hundred millions of devices sold, like to get all the parts. You kind of have to spin it as much as you need to just to cycle through that stuff. But my biggest takeaway was it feels, if you put the FE and the Plus in someone's hands, they are nearly indistinguishable.
Yeah.
And it's great. And I like the timing of it because it means that if we do see the 25 in January, this is still fully relevant and this will be relevant for another year.
It even has the tiny bit of rounding on the back side, so it feels more comfortable to wear. Anyway, like the thing is fine. Also, slight detune on the charging, only 25 watt, not 45 watt, and for wired, and wireless is 15 watt, which is not bad. It has wireless charging, which is also great. So I really hope that telephoto is OIS. Other than that, that's the only big question mark I have left. 8 gigs of RAM, either 128 or 256 gigs of storage. No micro SD, of course. You still get a nano SIM. Interestingly, the SIM's on top. I haven't seen that in a while. The millimeter wave antenna is on the side. Like, not in the middle side, like the top side, which is kind of an interesting thing. And it does have millimeter wave, which I did not expect the FE to have. Usually that's one thing they take out because it costs money.
But I'm guessing that was a request out of...
Yeah, but typically they've done 2 SKUs where they put one in and one not, and then they charge $50 more, remember? The $50 tax?
Yeah, so I just looked up the spec.
What's the OIS on it?
It says it has it. Now, this is on the Samsung page.
No, I trust it. This is GSM Arena, the database of all things. We trust the GSM Arena.
Yeah, it looks pretty solid. There are 17 models. There's always, no, there's like 6, but, you know, there's always that. I'm not even going to say it's fine. I liked the S24. I liked the Plus. I think they were really good phones for what they offer, at least in the context of January, of what was around in January.
I think, as you said, and as we both said earlier, the big question now is if you walk into a store like George, what happens if you walk into a Verizon store right now? Do you get a deal on the S24 Plus that makes the S24 Fan Edition irrelevant?
Are they not in and of basically the same phone, other than the changes in processor and because they're essentially the same thing.
I mean, you lose the charging speed a bit, and you lose on I think the display because I think it's Quad HD. Bring up the specs again.
1440 by 3120.
So that's a big downgrade. Also, how many nits is that? 2000, right?
26.
Oh, yeah. Well, there you go.
HDR10 plus, you know.
So look, that's and then of course the telephoto is a little bit detuned as well. But look, that's not a huge deal because it is quite a bit cheaper. It's $300 less.
Let me roll through the changes.
Wait, it's less. It's more than $999 down to $649.
Yeah, $350. 35% of the price discounted.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Before promotions and stuff like that. Let's just run through any changes I can kind of spot. The same dust and water resistance. It does not have, it's IP68. It does not say Armor Aluminum 2, which is...
Who cares?
It is what it is.
You're going to put it in a case anyway.
It's Victus Plus versus Victus 2. Doesn't make you... So the pixel density is much lower, but it doesn't look it.
No.
It looks...
I mean, it's...
1900 peak versus 2600.
We're like 14 years of AMOLED now for Samsung.
We're really just, honestly, we're just nitpicking. And it's the first time I can remember that an FE that I'm having to sit here and trawl through and find the differences. And the minutiae of the differences is low enough that it makes you go, oh, this is interesting. Okay, ready?
What?
The telephoto. The 10 megapixel has a 67mm focal length.
Okay.
The 8 megapixel has a 75mm focal length. That feels weird.
Well, is it? I think the telephoto is not 3x on. It's 2 point something, isn't it?
No, it's 3x.
It's 3x.
Again, I don't know. I'm going GS Marina going on gospel. Mistakes happen, but we'll take it as what it is for face value.
Yeah.
Their respect. We know we go with that.
What's the f-stop on the main camera?
F-stop on both is 1.8.
Okay, that's what I thought.
It's the exact same. It looks like the identical thing. The only other thing I would say that it seems like is, again, the GS Marina hasn't got the information, so it's where the pixel size is different. There's no 32-bit audio. Yeah, that's fine. It's not USB-C
and
type.
it's optical in display, or
I'm trying to find it.
Ultrasonic.
Under display optical.
Yeah.
So it's slightly
saving money there.
They're saving a little bit of money. But the thing is, we know that...
Like, we're really nitpicking.
I'm sitting there having to go like, oh my God, it's 1 megahertz lower.
No, but the big question mark for me is the Exynos. Because typically in the US market, the radios haven't been as good. And that's
it's not
also
just in the US market.
Oh, really?
As someone who has... Exynos traditionally, especially outside the US...
I mean, we're using Pixels, which are Exynos based.
Wait, I just need to warm myself up a little bit.
Mine is nice and cool right now. And I'm roaming. This is my Canadian SIM.
I really want your case.
It's $9 on Amazon.
Man, Let me feel that.
It's the only drawback is this it doesn't have any tape on it of any kind. It doesn't come with tape, so you'd have to like put some adhesive on it. But it hasn't fallen off yet.
It's got the look.
We're reviewing an Amazon $9 case for the Pixel.
No, feel the difference. It's got the silicone.
I like that feel.
It's got that weird feel that I hated with the original.
But it's not as grip. Like it doesn't stick to your pocket. So
okay, well that's good. Sorry, we're going to be talking about Samsung.
Also, this $9 case for the Pixel, since we're reviewing it now live on the show, the cutout for the USB-C wasn't big enough. Like you couldn't put a normal plug in. So I had to use the Dremel to make it a little less. See, like I've cut it. See?
Do you know what, Miriam?
What? For $9?
Should have bought the $12 case. You get what you pay for.
Honestly, there weren't that many cases. I'll put in the show notes the link to the Amazon affiliate link for my affiliate. You guys are all going to buy Pixel 9 Pro Fold $9 cases and bring your Dremel.
But also add the other few $1,000s to your cart, so it really helps.
So there is yeah, please add $1,000 worth of gear, including the Galaxy S24 if I can find it, the Fan Edition.
FE, yeah, there you go.
And the tablets. But there's a story behind why I have this case and not the official case. It's a very simple question. Well, I mean, we might as well. We've pretty well gone down that route now. So the answer to that is they didn't send me the case. They sent me the review unit without a case. Listen. And then I ping them and I'm like, can I have the case? And they're like, yes. And I'm like, why didn't you send me the case? Like I didn't say that, but I thought that. And so the case is coming from Google, except they're sending it to the US and I'm in Canada I'm in New York right now, but I'm going back to Canada. So I was like, I need a case because I'm going to do something stupid.
So I think everyone wants to know, most inquiring minds on this show of shows about cases. Was it $9 US or Canadian?
No, it was $9 US. I bought it in US before I went back to Canada. They couldn't ship it in time. I just told them to hold it off for a little bit.
Who?
Google.
Okay, gotcha.
You get the case and the buds and whatever else I need.
For the buds.
Right, the buds. Okay.
Right. Anyway.
So can we now get back to the show? And speaking of cases, Pitaka is eventually going to send me their Pro Fold case. And then that's the one I really want. Super thin carbon fiber. With MagSafe.
Pitaka.
So guess this. By the way, Pitaka, my favorite case manufacturer, and since we're there, I've got a gripe with this phone, a big gripe for me, because, I'm wireless charging queen, right? Like, I've been named that. Like, this is an official title. So, the same on OIS queen. Like, phones have to have wireless charging in OIS, otherwise they don't count.
I've never heard this.
No, you've never heard that. It's surprising to you, right?
I believe we may have spent an hour of a previous podcast talking about wireless charging.
I think so. So, this does not charge on most stand-style wireless chargers.
So the
coil is too low.
Yeah, the design of what they've done with that,
it's
actually
annoying.
Screwed.
Yeah, so
several case manufacturers.
Pitaka does not have a case for this because all the cases they produced had the wrong positioning, and it messed up everything.
And they're like, but you know what? You got to feel for companies, like especially smaller companies who Pitaka's not a massive, like it's not the biggest of names.
It's not like,
your specs where you can afford to. No case manufacturer can take the hit of producing millions. And so Google, if you listen, this is some advice. You won't see Samsung or Apple dramatically change the logical or the expected position of a magnet year on year, at least without not making that change. Because I know from retail experience, people do look at what accessories are available, what cases are available. Nobody in retailers are going to go and stock a case with the MagSafe charging or anything like that, especially when we get into Qi 2 world, where you need to have some semblance of support for this stuff and magnets, because it makes it less likely that all of these case manufacturers want to support your phone. When that happens, people probably won't return a phone. They definitely won't return a phone going, I couldn't find the right case. They'll settle. But 100%, the next time they go to buy a new phone, it might be a year, or it might be 2, it might be 3. They will remember the trouble they've had. And it doesn't matter if everything's been fixed and there's suddenly a million cases available.
Yeah.
In their head, they're like, no, it was such a pain to find something that supported it. And the gold standard Not even that. The gold, platinum, bronze, silver, mega superstar status is Apple. And that's like the creme de la creme. Samsung's getting up there, because we're talking about cases. Hey, we'll bring it back to the FE in a minute. Samsung's getting up there, and you see probably, if I was to, having done enough of these best cases, but if you're looking at 100% is the Apple world, Samsung's, their flagships are sitting at the 90% mark, most. Yeah. I'd say 85%. Google's in the 50% for in terms of companies that support it.
It's not much.
It's not.
That's why I really had to, I like ultra slim, ultra light, like silicone or TPE.
I paid a fortune for the official case.
Right. And it's
to be honest, I do really like it.
It's really nice, but I'm not going to pay that since they're sending me one.
Yeah.
So I wanted something in the meantime and that one that they're sending me will hold me over until Pitaka fixes the problem they have so that I can get their case.
And hence the $9 Dremel case.
I know.
That's what we're going to call
Dremel case.
The $9 Dremel case. It'll be interesting to see, though.
What?
How much support there is for the FE. Here, let's take a look.
No. We got to move on.
Okay.
Move on from the cases.
Got it.
Tablets, yes. Let's talk about the tablets because we need the specs. Because here's the thing. 14.6 inch is the Ultra, which is freaking massive. But you said it's only 5 point what?
5.4 millimeters thin. I owned a Tab S8 Ultra and Tab S9 Ultra that I bought with my own money. I'm going to give you the summary. This is, if you have an S8 Ultra, it's probably worth looking at an S10 Ultra, as it's a decent enough upgrade. If you have an S9 Ultra, don't bother. There's just no need to buy it. Yeah. It is the same tablet. You will get all the AI features, or at least 98% of them. Keyboard is nice, actually quite nice. Galaxy AI key is, basically if you have a Copilot plus PC, it's the same thing. And I just wrote 1,100 words where the summary was, I just don't know why. This is basically virtually identical. There is a couple of changes, a couple of things that are really interesting.
What?
They fixed one of my biggest complaints about the S9 Ultra. I've lost at least one S Pen, and I think probably a second because I can't find it. Because before, it was flush. I think it was maybe a millimeter recessed, and that is not a lot. Not a millimeter?
Yeah.
Literally a millimeter. Not even a millimeter. Under a millimeter recessed. I forget what 5 millimeters is. Like under a millimeter. It was like virtually nothing.
All right.
Maybe a hair. And that was the magnetic. But the problem was, you put it in your bag, and anyone who's got an S series knows this. You put it in your bag, pen goes flying off, it's stuck at the bottom of your bag. I don't know if you noticed, but 10 Ultra, 10 Plus have a slightly recessed and dipped one now.
Yeah.
And it's great because it seems stronger and it seems like it's going to hold that in place more.
True.
That is a quality of life improvement that I'm really glad they made. And that's basically the only thing that comes to mind. Oh, and the MediaTek processor, which...
Well, and that's a big deal. I think that this is what is really exciting to me, is that, we have a chip in there that's really pretty strong. And then on top of that, the tablet itself is already been pretty strong, as you said. It's an OLED display. It's like a massive resolution, like 2970 by something crazy like that. And
it's like 405 or 10 PPI.
It's pretty amazing. And then we have a 13 megapixel rear camera, as well as a 12 megapixel ultra wide, I believe. And then we have a dual 12 in the front because it does Face ID, right?
It's not even Face ID. It's all about video calls.
Is it?
It's nothing
but it has
Face
two
ID.
In the front.
So the way they've used that
one ultra wide, is that what?
So they have a regular and an ultra wide just to give it that more center stage-ish look.
Yeah, and it's got a little notch.
Yep.
And did you have that on the S9 Ultra last year?
They did. It was
I
all
forgot.
notch-based.
See, this was Korea. I forgot.
And then was it Korea last year that they launched it? No.
Yes.
Was it?
It was.
Okay. Good to know. Can't remember. And then I forget who pointed it out. On the back, in the antenna design, now has a notch. Literally by the USB-C port. It's a little notch in the antenna design. And I had to call it out going,
I was wondering if that was there last time because I noticed that too. And I
don't think that was.
Yeah, I don't remember. It's like, okay, answer this for me. This is actually going to be really relevant for the audience. Why the hell would you buy that thing? You bought two of them.
Okay, so here's the thing. And this was the opening lead.
There is something called the iPod Pro out there.
The iPad Pro.
Oh, thank you. The iPad Pro.
I'd love an iPod Pro.
I know, it'd be great. No, but
no tangent.
The iPad Pro exists.
This reminds me of something Samsung launched 10 years ago that thankfully was a one-off.
The 20-inch one?
The Galaxy View, 17 inches
Was it
of
17? I thought it was
absolute
20.
madness.
Yeah, but
That was designed as a kitchen display.
that's right.
This can be that communal tablet. But also, and here's the key one, it's actually, if you think about it, it's not genuinely a tablet. This is much more this Samsung's take on the 2-in-1 form factor, because you run DeX, run DeX.
Oh, you can run DeX.
You can run DeX. Don't think of it as a 14.6-inch Android tablet. Think of it as a 14.6-inch Windows/Android portable computing device. And it's actually quite fascinating in that realm. And then the MediaTek chipset's interesting because if it goes by what the phones have done, we're going to see some seriously impressive battery life on this. And S8 Ultra, S9 Ultra battery life, not that impressive.
No, I agree.
Because they're running flagship chipsets.
But I think you made a good point. And I think, we also have to agree that Samsung has to have an iPad Pro equivalent. And this is it, right?
For now, I wish they had gone. I want to see them go. I told them this earlier. I was like, look, where's the tandem OLED? Where's the next evolution?
Right.
Give me. But for now, look, it's not tandem OLED. It's just as thin as an iPad Pro. I'm a little.
It's bigger than iPad Pro.
They're both
14.6.
Yeah, I'm really perplexed as to where the 11-inch has gone. Because what's missing is, and I use this, remember the Montreal days? I would use that with the note cover, which was this. It's a beautiful cover that you can just put on top. It's a folio cover, and you can write through it onto the display.
Oh, cool!
So it becomes this e-ink style matte display that you're not. It's great. The only thing that happens is your S Pen nibs run out quicker, which is fine because you're applying a bit more pressure. But it was actually the perfect, always ready note-taking device.
But you couldn't see the display, right?
Oh yeah, you fully could.
It was translucent?
Yeah, it was translucent. It was a translucent cover that you could write through.
Sweet.
But it was perfect. I had it for all of them. It was perfect for the 11-inch. Why do we not have an 11-inch Tab S10?
So what's the 10 Plus size?
12.4.
That's big.
They've gone 12.4, 14.6.
So what's the difference between the S10 Plus and the S10 Ultra? Of course, there's no notch, so there's probably less cameras up there.
There's one less camera on the front. Okay. There is a smaller display, smaller resolution. The battery, you go from
5 something, 520, I want to say.
11,540 or whatever to 10,090.
Okay.
No, it's 1110. So it's only, it's like 11, it's 1,000, 1,200 milliamp hours.
Who cares? It's 11 versus 10.
Yeah. 1,000 plus milliamp hours. And if you go with the 1 terabyte Ultra, you get 16 gigs of RAM, but the Plus only comes in 256, 512. So 256, 512 on both of them is 12 gigs of RAM.
I thought the Ultra was the same. 12, 12, and 16.
12, 12, 16.
Yeah.
So there's not huge differences. They are effectively the same product.
So why don't they make an 11-inch? You're right. Maybe is that the non-S? There's an
10? FE.
Oh, there's an FE that came out already. But 9 FE, right?
It's 9 FE, and
So
they have an FE and an FE plus.
Yeah, that's right. We need not get a 10 FE and a 10 FE plus.
No, we will. We'll probably get that 6 months from now.
This is tiring.
I would not be surprised if we saw the
so
FE
jaded.
Plus disappear. But funny enough, I had my brother-in-law bought an FE Plus, the Tab S9 FE Plus, and he likes it. He loves it, in fact. It's a solid...
Look, there is an iPad Air, so the FE is allowed to exist, okay?
No, I don't think there's a problem. What is interesting is the iPad Air comes in 2 sizes. Now we have the tabs in 2 sizes, like the iPad Pro. What was fascinating is just, personally, the 11-inch was the one that I would turn to. Yeah. Because actually it was the right size of a lot of things.
I just feel like any tab, this is just me, but I feel like anything over 11 inches for a tablet, or 12, let's say 12, is, especially with small bezels, is like, why get a laptop?
Yeah.
At that point, you add the folio and the case or the keyboard. This, by the way, has those 2 tablets have a beautiful folio, whatever. It's not a folio, it's really a keyboard case.
It's the book cover keyboard, which is
more
fabulous.
like Surface, right?
But the issue being, like all of them,
Yeah, you
What I
can't really
love about-
rest them on your
Yeah,
legs because they
I
come off.
want something that will let me sit here like this and run.
And that's why laptops are better at those sizes.
True, but guess what? You ever tried to use a laptop on a plane? You ever tried to
As
go?
soon as you put a trackpad on that keyboard folio, you have the same problem. I'm sorry to tell you, because if you look at how that thing disassembles, right, or
Oh, yeah.
you've got the kickstand, and then you've got it's the same as, it's even worse because you got the kickstand in the back. I think this is where the iPad, the old iPad case that did not have the trackpad, the one that like origami
do
one. Is there a new one like that too?
Samsung always does that. So they have the book cover, and then you have the book cover keyboard and the book cover keyboard slim.
So
And the
here's
sole
the
purpose
question.
of that is it's slimmer and it drops the trackpad.
Okay, good. So that's for a tablet.
But that's a problem. That's only an issue in DeX mode because
Right.
it's
So I want the trackpad. So that doesn't really solve the problem. That's what I'm saying. Like at that point, if you get past 12 inches on those, just get a laptop.
I would love a magnetic keyboard style. Like that for me is, but we've seen it's not just Samsung.
Like Bridge?
Little, no, just like the iPad, the magnetic keyboard.
Yeah.
But little tangent because it'll be a good time to mention them. It's not just Samsung who's not doing magnetic keyboards. My favorite magnetic keyboard for an Android tablet was OnePlus.
Yes.
Except the Pad 2 this year, even though we're months away after it, does not have a magnetic keyboard. They completely dropped it this year. And they basically replicated the essence of the iPad magnetic keyboard in such a good way with the original Pad.
I like the Pad 2 a lot, though. I have to say, I like the fact that it has a trackpad. This is the one that got me excited in the last few tabs I've used at Android. I also, by the way, as an aside, I did finally, my review of the Poco Pad got published on Geekspin. And this is the price of an iPad, base iPad. Okay? And the same pretty much as a base iPad. It's a little bigger in screen. It's got 144 hertz refresh, which the iPad does not have, for $300. 12-inch screen instead of whatever, 10 point something on the iPad. Now, the iPad has better cameras. The iPad has a better app ecosystem. The iPad has a better keyboard cover because the keyboard cover on the Poco Pad is cheap. It doesn't even have magnets. It's like clip-on and with plastic tabs, and it doesn't have a trackpad, so it's great on an airplane tray, but it's not really great if you're trying to do documents and you need a trackpad. So, check out my review. But honestly, of all the tablets I have floating around right now, the one I've been using the most is the OnePlus Pad 2.
So I've been using it recently, and I think it's going to be fascinating to see how this all pairs. Because I love the OnePlus Pad 2. I love the display. Like, my God, that is a gorgeous display. I also love that it's not trying to be impossibly thin and all of this stuff. It's rounded. It's beautiful. Do you know what? It reminds me of tablets of old in that we're not in this race to go, my God, we shaved 0.1 microns off the bezel, but we added 16 millimeters to the camera hump.
Yeah.
It's just got a vibe to it. It's got the camera slap bang in the middle of the back. It's got all of this stuff that just gives you old school tablet vibes that no one else is doing. And I like it a lot. Some of the really interesting things that I found that are really neat. I love the animation when you're using the brightness slider.
Yeah.
And the way that the brightness slider
solid.
It disappears into like whatever app you're using and all of this stuff. It's solid, it's well done, and it's a OnePlus. It literally is as fast as the first day I started using it. It charges like, this thing charges 80 minutes to charge a 9,500 milliamp hour battery.
Yeah.
This is what VOOC charging. Sorry, I get that every time I say VOOC. VOOC charging was made for.
No, it's right. It's true. Let's quickly jump on to the Watch LTE. Is essentially the fan edition Galaxy Watch FE that launched in June, but now with LTE. It's small, so if you have small wrists, it's great. I'm wearing the larger Pixel watch right now, Watch 3. And so, compared to that, it's a little smaller. It's really nothing spectacular, but it's $250. So,
And Galaxy
and
the Samsung Health ecosystem.
Samsung Health, I was just going to say, great, solid.
it's the best you can buy on Android by far.
Other than going Fitbit with the Pixel Watch.
All right. Do you want to have a quick 90-second tangent?
I think for accuracy, everything I've read so far, and I'm not an expert, you are, so like tell me if I'm wrong, but everything I've read so far seems to say that the Pixel Watch is one of the most accurate.
Okay.
Three.
Pixel Watch 3, 2, and 3. Because I had this confirmed
right,
at the
launch.
first
one is...
Yeah, the first one, I had this confirmed. 2 and 3 use the same heart rate sensor. There's no changes to the heart rate sensor and the sensing. They didn't need it. It's by far the most accurate heart rate sensing.
That's what I'm saying.
But I said Samsung Health.
Oh no, the Health app is, I think, a better. Like I don't like the
ecosystem.
as much.
I think
I agree.
Samsung does a much better job. I think their sleep data and the way they present that health information is just great for regular users. Like,
yeah. So right now I'm wearing the Pixel as a watch, but I'm also wearing the Galaxy Ring.
I've been rocking both,
and so I'm looking at two different apps. Right, I'm looking at the Galaxy app, the Samsung Health, and I'm looking at the Fitbit app. And so every night they can't agree on my sleep. And the Fitbit is always like, you didn't sleep enough. Bad Miriam. The Samsung's like, you did fine. Like, I mean, I don't sleep much to start with, but the point is, it's like interesting how they're just a little different. Like they're maybe 20% off in numbers, but they match. Like if you look at the rhythm of my sleep, like when I was awake, when I was in REM sleep, light sleep, deep sleep, it all matches more or less. But cumulatively,
algorithmic, like the way they approach that.
It always says I sleep 20% less on Fitbit than total time, and then it always says that my score is always worse on Fitbit than on Samsung Health. And so I'm like, which one's right? I don't know.
Having done a lot of testing, it's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I'm doing that whole testing soon. But I've been running.
If you really care, get an Apple Watch, right?
Well, I've been recently, and it's not today because they're both on charge, because obviously my charger.
Is that the new one, by the way?
That's the Series 10. And literally, I didn't charge it last night because the chargers are in my bag that is arriving soon.
Oops,
indeed. There's pictures of me rocking.
Yeah, I've seen them.
Just now, the Pixel Watch 3 and the Galaxy Watch 7. So I've been rolling all three side by side. Here's kind of give you the context of the three. From the health perspective, the health app is, I'd say it's the best, just for its separate integration. Samsung Health is very close for its data collection. Accuracy, I really like the heart rate tracking and stuff on the Pixel Watch. I love the cardio load and target load and stuff like that. Sleep, I kind of like much better on the Samsung.
Yeah.
Although Apple's really good with WatchOS 11. Really good. And charging and battery life. And this is the big one. You can have a little exclusive on this. Series 10, not as good as the other two. But what do you think of the two? Pixel Watch 3 versus Galaxy Watch 7. Which one do you think is the longest for battery life?
Watch 7.
Pixel Watch 3.
Ooh, surprising.
Now, all three devices, second question, all three devices, Apple Watch Series 10, Pixel Watch 3, Galaxy Watch 7. Who do you think the slowest to charge is?
Oh, Samsung.
Yes. Who do you think the fastest to charge is?
Pixel.
Apple.
Oh.
57 minutes, start to finish. And that is about
okay,
OnePlus
so
charging speeds.
Before we move on to other wearables from Meta, I actually want to point out that my favorite watch this year still, after using, I didn't use the Watch 7, and I don't have an Apple Watch, but I did use a bunch of other watches, and I'm still, battery life, especially that's why it came to mind, because you mentioned OnePlus Watch 2 battery life.
Yeah, OnePlus Watch 2 battery life is...
Charging speed.
And what's the charging speed on it?
Like less than an hour. It's VOOC.
Yeah, no, so here's the thing. It's super fast.
Amazing.
But I think I remember, if I remember correctly, it was 51 minutes.
It's less than an hour.
So
but it's
Series 10 Apple Watch, 57.
Yeah, but the battery life of the Apple Watch doesn't even come close. That's my point. Like, it's also a ratio here, right?
Yeah, like you're talking.
Like I get an extra day. I get an extra day versus this Pixel 3 with the watch, the OnePlus Watch 2.
Yeah, and that gives you
the Ultra is in between. So the Ultra, I feel, is
the Galaxy.
Yeah, Galaxy Ultra is kind of roughly little, it's not that good. Very disappointing considering the size of the watch, Samsung.
I don't know. I liked mine. Mine was solid.
I liked it, but the battery life wasn't great.
It's better than the Pixel Watch 3.
Yeah, it's better. It's in between that and the OnePlus Watch 2.
I think OnePlus nailed it. What I need to see from a OnePlus Watch 3 before we go further,
well,
can you just give us better health?
OnePlus, yeah, for sure. OnePlus Watch 2R I have as well.
Oh, yeah, I need to.
And you know what? It's just a cheaper OnePlus Watch 2. There's material differences. The hardware is exactly the same. Same battery life, same chipset, same display. Like, I really thought it would be like more detuned, and it's really not. It's just like, let's save on not using stainless steel and use aluminum instead. Let's save on not using sapphire and use like Gorilla Glass instead. And as such, it should be less durable, but honestly,
it's a great watch.
It's a great watch.
I have one. I love using it. I just need better health metrics, but you know what? We're talking against companies. Google doesn't count because they've obviously got Fitbit, which has been doing this for forever.
Yeah.
Apple and Samsung have been doing this for a very long time. OnePlus, the Watch 2 is technically your first watch in a very long time.
Yeah.
You nailed the hardware. The health will come.
Yeah.
But as a watch goes and for basic tracking of stuff, you guys have absolutely smashed it.
Yeah, for sure.
Job done.
So Meta. I want to focus mostly on the AR stuff. I know that there's a new VR headset. What's it called?
Meta Quest 3S thing, I think.
And anyway, is it affordable? Is it less than $1,000?
Yes.
Is it more than 300?
Don't know.
We're terrible tech journalists.
All right, I'll look it up.
We need to look it up.
My interest level is
Yeah, that's my point.
Let me put it this way.
I'll look it up while you talk.
Well, it says, introducing MetaQuest 3S, our most affordable mixed reality headset.
Almost affordable.
Starting at just $299,999. $299.99.
300. But the MetaQuest,
so it's technically under 300.
So the MetaQuest is a little more, yeah. It's like 500.
So there you go.
Okay.
Brings great.
So,
it's not.
So we're not going to talk about that because we don't care about VR. In this house, we care about AR. And because AR, it really is the future. If you love your VR and you work out with your VR, and I'm okay with that. Enjoy, but I cannot stand VR. First of all, I wear glasses, so I need prescription on my VR. I also need prescription on my AR, but at least with my AR, I feel like I'm doing something. Whereas my VR, I'm just like, why? VR is just
like you just take to brick to you.
VR is just AR with your eyes covered.
I mean, and the brick on your head.
And a brick on your head. Yes, thank you. That's the worst part. That's the discount. Also, I sweat too much in any VR headset. Even like when it's nice like this right now where it's not hot and I'm comfortable. I put a VR headset on. I
look at the Vision Pro. It was fine. It was nice. It was lovely. Guess what? I've got neck issues.
Too heavy.
Well, I've had spinal surgery. That's never happening.
What we're excited about is Orion. Orion is the AR, like, it's funny because Snap, we talked about Snap last week, and they came out with their developer-only Spectacles 5. And look, I understand they're developer-only. I understand they're clunky because they're everything in one device. That's all fine. But, like, do you have an industrial designer, Snap? Because those things look like hell. Then the previous ones look like hell.
Listen. Anyone who says to me Spectacles 24 elicits the same response for one reason.
Which is?
Who in their right mind? Okay, that's the wrong way to put it, because someone who's willing to do it is not in their right mind. And if they ever signed a will in that estate, would definitely be down there, not in their right mind of sound mind.
Yeah.
He's going to pay $100 a month to Snap.
Yeah, that's
for
another
an
question.
Ongoing subscription. There's a minimum 12-month term. Minimum 12-month term. And then you'll keep paying forever. I have strong opinions, and I don't think the Snapchat Spectacles...
No, we're moving on. Yeah. What I'm just trying to say is that Orion they had industrial designers, and clearly they paid close attention to how to integrate the compute stuff, because the compute stuff is still intense right now. You can't put it in the glasses, and they put it in the puck, which is really smart because you can put it in your pocket or something and you're good to go. And it's wireless. So you're going to say, I need to charge more things, but that's fine. That's where we're at today. The thing isn't even sold. Like Meta has said in the interview that they did with The Verge, that if they were to mass produce this Orion thing right now, it'd be 10 grand.
The crazy thing is,
and they wouldn't make a profit.
That's 10 grand that I genuinely believe, if you look at where AR is going, the future of AR in a commercial sense,
they could sell it to enterprise.
They could absolutely sell this into hospitals and things like that. Yeah. The applications of this is astronomical.
It's incredible.
We've finally reached a world where you take that and you go down to the Snapchat spec, or you go down to the Metas.
I know.
And in between is that beautiful space.
So we don't, I'm not talking specs. I just want to talk about, like, I'm a firm believer, folks. Like, I wear smartwatches because they're just an accessory assistant device for me. Like, they're my health and fitness and I don't do fitness, but they're my health and wellness and vitals tracker, and they're also my sleep tracker, which I really love to track. I love to track my sleep. And they're my notification device. Like, it's nice to glance and see what's going on when I'm in the middle of a podcast. Like, I just got a FedEx notification. I know what's happening now, but I don't have to work on my phone. I can look at you guys, those of you on Patreon watching this video. So, like, my point is that I love my wearables, but my holy grail since I worked at Pebble has always been something that looks like these glasses. I just took them off and is not much bulkier, just Ray-Bans that just is an AR display. Now, could the compute be on my phone? Yeah, I still think the phone's not going to go away in the same way the laptop is and the tablets haven't gone away. But I think that there are going to be some people who don't even have a phone anymore, just have the AR glasses. I think that'll be the first device that can replace your phone in many ways, with a combination of voice assistant, the display, and gestures and stuff. Some of us will still carry a phone. And maybe the compute part for those of us who carry the phone, there'll be a cheaper pair of glasses. Like, there is a non-LTE version of the smartwatch that has, but Orion is showing us what can be done. And it's more importantly using a band that uses the nerve signals from your arm to detect the motion in your hand. And so when you pinch, it's not using vision, it's not using accelerometers like the pinching on the Galaxy Ring or the pinching on the Galaxy Ultra watch, for example. It's using the actual nerve signals around your nerves around your wrist and seeing what you're doing with your hand. And I think that's brilliant. And it has haptic feedback. So you're wearing this very small band that, by the way, could integrate vital scanning, which I hope that Meta does for the next gen, so that it has like your heart rate and eventually CGM when we get to that, continuous glucose monitoring for people who are diabetic. And I think this is why I'm so excited about Orion, is because this is the first glasses that look chunky but not bad and have incredible local compute, because I'm pretty sure they're working with Qualcomm here and we know what their XR platforms can do. The challenge is you need a dedicated chip right now to do the actual position processing. Like, if you put up a window in AR and you move your head around and you come back, that window needs to be exactly pinned where it was. And it needs to happen with no latency. So that's where, Qualcomm and others, and MediaTek and others that are doing AR chip, and Samsung, they're doing AR chip.
Samsung and Qualcomm building that XR compute platform. So
my point is, those companies, they have to create custom chips right now. We don't have a way to general purpose that stuff. So it's very exciting to see what Meta's done here, because, I've been, I was very critical, like everyone else, with Meta changing their names, Facebook to Meta, and Zuck being all about, like, avatars, and we made fun of it when it was all VR. But now it's no longer fun because it's actually useful when it's in AR. And I'm still questioning on the avatars when you do a video call and stuff, right? Because right now you can't have your face in the video call because it's like the Vision Pro problem, right? So they're working on that. But I think that now I'm seeing how these billions of dollars that Meta has been spending are being spent. And I'm excited. Like, I'm finally like, oh, all this time you couldn't tell us. I get it. Now I get what you were doing.
Yeah, so I agree, yes and no. I think he spent a lot of money
Oh, he wasted a lot of it on the VR
the
stuff.
expectation that
Yeah,
VR was
yeah.
the future. But what I think has driven a lot of this is the tie-in with EssilorLuxottica and
Yeah.
the Ray-Bans.
Well, the Ray-Ban thing, right?
The way that they've done with the Metas and the way that they've done this, you know, I forget, there's plenty of examples, I'm sure you can pull one straight out, but like, of companies that have failed at something, spunk loads of money, failed further, pivoted and gone, holy beat, you know, like we figured this out. We found the right pivot. We found the right product market fit.
Yeah.
And the craziest thing is, I'm going to tell you this little story, and this is so relevant to Meta as a company.
Mm-hmm.
I have a pair of Ray-Ban Metas.
By the way, fantastic product, and there's been some updates to the product, including a translucent pair of glasses for small heads.
New transition lenses.
New transition lenses that are transitioning much faster.
Thank God for that. Because
fantastic product. I don't have a pair because I would need a prescription that's pretty hard to get. So I'm kind of holding off until the product is so refined that it's worth it for me. But I'm very close. I'm very, very close. So because
I bought a regular pair.
Yeah.
That were just sunglasses to test them out.
Yeah.
And I used them at, actually, ironically, I think I used them at MediaTek
I remember,
which was fun. And then I spent over $1,000 on a pair of prescription transition lenses. Had them super thinned. Everything. And it is the greatest purchase I've made. I think they are a phenomenal pair of glasses that are outstanding, and they are showing what a world of consumer grade friendly AR is. Now, pivoting away from that for a second, the nerve endings. What's really fascinating is Orion shows it's not just about the AR thing.
No.
Meta is positioning itself to be this incredible company that integrates into your life in ways that, think about what Facebook did for social media. Meta's going to do for some of the next generation of technologies, because the same thing that's empowering the Orion sensors is going to be really, really useful for the nerve endings and that technology for people who can't move fingers, who
people are paralyzed.
Right? You're bringing that democratization, the stuff that the Stephen Hawkings of the world have spent countless amounts of money to enable,
right?
But offering that to all
super important. In fact, Meta did say that they're going to launch the band as a separate product with some applications, which I think is very exciting.
Super useful.
And I think the other thing I want to bring up here is you know, the AR stuff they showed is, you know, it's pretty much what you'd expect. I was like, it's not like, we know what AR can bring to the table. The problem is we don't have the hardware to make it real yet. And we still don't, because $10,000 and they're not making it as a product. But all the research that's gone into that is, you know, extending to other areas like the band. It's extended into other areas like compute pucks that are wireless, right? It's extended into other areas where, like silicon carbide, 70-degree field of view, which you've never seen before, light guides for the lenses. Now, eventually this thing will come out. If they can bring it down to like $2,000, $1,500 in 3 years' time, which I think they can, we're gonna, you know, mass production will then bring it down to $1,000 and then do $500.
Well, I do want to mention something here. Yeah, we're talking Meta's gone at the 10,000 mark here. And then you've got the Ray-Ban Metas, which are just
amazing.
They're amazing, but they're not AR. They're just a pair of...
How much are $350, $250?
They start at $299, $279, $299, something like that, I think.
Yeah.
Are they? I don't know.
Yeah, it sounds right.
The story I was giving you earlier about Meta, I sold off my Ray-Ban Metas. What's wild is I sold a lot of things on Facebook this year, and they had probably the most interest of any single device. I had probably about, on average, 10 people a day messaging me whilst I wasn't here at the time, so I couldn't sell it because they were physically with me. 10 people a day messaging me to go, I want to buy these. I actually sold them to Dom in the end, and he loves them. It's the first consumer product from Meta in a very long time.
That actually is successful.
That was wildly
This is the only piece of hardware they've ever made that was successful, in my opinion. There's nothing else.
Actually, to the point where it was sold out in loads of places. I waited weeks for mine to arrive.
Yeah.
But whilst we're talking about XR and Orion, I also think it's worth mentioning, there is a company that does 50% of all XR sales right now, and that's XReal.
Yeah, that's
Now,
true.
I'm really interested to
I'm
see
getting
where
the Beam Pro. It's coming.
I have mine, and I've finished a review of it, and I think the only thing that lets that down, simply, is the fact that if you have an iPhone, it's the perfect device for you because it's a better version, a better, cheaper, more affordable. 7 of them with the glasses is a Vision,
Vision
Pro.
Pro. Yeah.
If you have an Android phone, I rolled it with my Magic V3 and it was perfectly fine. I didn't need it. So it's the only thing. But I've used the Air 2. I've used the Beam Pro. The stuff Xreal's doing in the AR space is fascinating because I think what we're going to see over the next 2-3 years is this convergence. Like we saw with smartphones where it was all over the place, it was all of that, until the market and customers basically went, this is what we want. This is the price we're willing to pay. And all of a sudden, kind of like we're seeing in the VR space with MetaQuest and all this, where everything's stabilized at a certain price point, we're going to see this convergence at one generalized price point or range with the same generalized set of features. And that will be the new basic table stakes expectation.
Yeah, the iPhone moment.
The iPhone moment. But
So-
it feels like we're finally getting to that
We're
point
getting
with
there. We can see it
the
now. We
next
can see the
generation
light
of
at the end of the
reality.
This is why this is a huge deal. Trust me on this. AR is going to be a thing.
Yeah.
And the other thing I want to mention here is it's a question to you and to the audience if you want to comment. What the F, Apple Vision Pro? How could you be so misguided? Like you are like, you canceled the car and Xiaomi showed you what you should have done with the SU7. Like,
Oh my
what
God,
the
that
F?
is gorgeous.
Right? That is exactly what Apple should have done. Right?
Daniel, I really want an SU7.
But instead, we got Apple Intelligence, which is not even out yet, with phones that are out. And on top of that, we have Vision Pro. And I think Vision Pro is a complete and utter failure.
I'm going to jump in here. Sorry. I got thoughts. Vision Pro, for their vision, pun intended. Sorry, that was too bad.
Too easy.
That was too easy and too corny.
You know me, I'm
Their
all about the
vision
dad
of
jokes.
yeah, it was a really bad dad joke. It was a granddad joke, in fact. Where they expect it to go, and as a ancillary device for the Mac, for the iPhone, for what it is for the Apple ecosystem, they nailed it. They nailed it.
No, because it's
for their
$3,500.
They nailed it for their ecosystem. You're not the way they're selling that is not trying to sell it to everyone buying an iPhone. They're trying to sell it to the people buying a Mac Studio. You know, the real expensive ecosystem
But it has
buyers.
no application other than watching TV.
I think it's a really good. It's actually really, really good for.
It's a really good TV, but it's only 1% at a time.
No, but also for as an extended display to your Mac and stuff like that. However, what is going to happen next? They are going to bring in a cheaper version of that is more applicable. That is the $1,000, 15. They bring that in $1,000. They will create the iPhone moment for VR.
I think they need it to be also lighter and not just cheaper.
Yeah, but again, everyone's.
And let's get rid of that external display. It's totally stupid.
I agree with you there, but here's the problem that whenever we look at any other company, first-gen product, we do ridicule it, but not to the same extent that I think Apple was ridiculed for Vision Pro. And having used it, genuinely, if I felt like my neck was strong enough to support it, which I have real concerns about given the spinal surgery, I would have bought one. Would I have used it often? No. Yeah. But having used the X-Real glasses...
X-Real is a whole different story. That's my point.
But use them on a flight, I can see why a Vision Pro powered with all this would make sense. There's not much... It's an interesting concept, at the very least.
Yeah.
Now, Apple Intelligence, just an aside there, what they're doing with it is a completely different approach to... I forget who it was. It might have been Ben Sin who wrote this on Twitter, and I fully agree with it, may have retweeted it, so check it out afterwards. Everyone's approached AI on phones and devices from the perspective of, here's what it will help you create. Here's the generative portion of all of it. Apple Intelligence is this complete opposite. If you think of VR and AR as two different approaches on reality,
right? Yeah,
technology and reality, Apple Intelligence is the exact same thing. They are not going, here, we're going to help you create a whole bunch of new things, yeah? Because there's no value to that. But I'm using the beta right now on the 16. And do you know the single best Apple Intelligence feature that exists right now?
Notification summaries.
Every single phone in the world needs notification summaries right now. Is it perfect? No. But I can tell you now, the minute it comes out, this is a game changer when you get 100 emails a day, when it summarizes key important information. And their rewrite of text and stuff like that is a solid feature. Like, this is really well done.
I would like to say rest in peace, Michael Fisher.
Yeah, rest in peace, Michael Fisher. I remember that.
Summary.
Yeah.
The summary.
What was ironic was I put 100 emoji on that.
Michael is fine, but one of my Christian DeLooper, just go to his Twitter or Threads or whatever and have a look, because he screenshotted one of the notification summaries from one of our chats we were having.
Yep.
And the summary was RIP.
Michael Fisher, Nirav Gondia, and I forget who else expressed sorrow.
That's right.
Yes, Michael.
It was funny. Anyway, look, I agree with you. I think that Apple's doing something really good with Apple Intelligence. I'm just saying that they spent a lot of time and energy on the car stuff and then refactored those teams into Vision Pro and AI, which is good. But I'm just saying, like, they better start spending a ton of money on AR now. Because if they haven't seen the future with Orion, and they don't want to be behind Meta here, right?
They'll still come to it. Last thing I want to say about Apple Intelligence. The crazy thing is, when they called it Apple Intelligence, I said this.
Smart.
It's smart because it uses the AI tagline.
Mm-hmm.
It gives them, at one point, if they have to, they will run an ad, and I'll tell you this now, that goes, that's AI. That's not Apple Intelligence.
That's right.
And it is intelligent use of non-generative AI.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to see where they go over 3 or 4 years, because I honestly do believe it will outdo, put it this way, I fully expect to see notification summaries as part of Gemini on Android at next year's I/O. 1,000%.
Speaking of, Realme has announced that they are doing a camera control. In fact, that they showed the camera control at the same time as the 320-watt charging a few weeks back, and nobody really noticed. So is it as slick? They published a video. It looks really awkward, but that's because it needs to be polished. But I believe that we're going to see Android phones with camera control like capacitive buttons very soon. So keep an eye on that. I hear most.
I really hope they do capacitive. It's not recessed. It's
mostly BBK for now.
Yeah.
So Xiaomi launched their T series, which is like the TikTok cycle of the year, right? They do the flagship series in the winter, like it's been earlier and earlier. Last year was in November because the 8 Gen 3 came out. And then they do the T series usually like late summer. And this just happened. So it's no longer under embargo. I've had the phone here for a while, the 14T Pro. It's a black one, unfortunately, so it's a little boring. It's in a case, and you can see it here. Yeah, you can have a look. I'm just showing it to the Patreons. So quickly, just to summarize, the 14T and the 14T Pro, this is the Pro. Yes, this is matte finish glass, which I love. Yeah. And it's metal frame, too. They've always put plastic frames on the Ts, which has been a bit of a hassle. Yeah. So anyway, spec-wise, you're looking at they're very much the same phones, the 14T and the 14T Pro. The only difference is the Dimensity. So this is a 9300 Plus, the Pro, and the regular is a Dimensity 8300 Ultra.
I didn't even know an 8300 Ultra existed.
Oh, it exists. It came out, like I had Finbar on the show talk about it.
I know 8300, I just didn't know the Ultra
But
existed.
other than that, the screens are the same. They are 6.7 inch or 6.67. They are 4,000 nits peak, 144 hertz, 1220 by 2712, so somewhere between 1080p and 1440p. This is HyperOS Android 14, so not 15 yet. We've got the same triple camera system, 50 megapixel main camera, although it's a little better on the Pro, the main camera. It's got bigger pixels. OIS, of course, a 50 megapixel 2.6x telephoto. And then it's got a 12 megapixel ultra wide. And batteries are big, 5,000 milliamp hour. Wireless charging on the Pro, which hasn't happened with T. Not only is it a metal frame, it's got wireless charging and 120 watt on the Pro for the wired and 67 watt on the non-Pro for the wired charging. So that's basically stereo speakers, in-display fingerprint. It's a flagship. It's got all the goodness. So there you go. That's a quick look at the Xiaomis, which are now available if you're in the market. And I think
let me give you my 5-second opinion, having just obviously no silver
flat
earlier
screen,
today.
By the way,
first time I'm using a 14T or even a T in a while. This is nice.
Yeah.
Yo, this is
very nice.
This is really nice. And what I love is you're rolling it at what network? T-Mobile? 5G and VoLTE.
Yeah, it's just fine.
It's got everything you need. I love the buttons with the...
It's nice, isn't it? It's a good one.
This is a gorgeous phone.
Yeah, yeah. So there you go, folks. Nirav, would you like to tell folks where they can find you on the internet? All your various social media handles, what you write, what you do, all this stuff.
Sure. You can find me in lots of places. I run House of Technology. You can find me on Instagram at NiravG, at Twitter at Nirav. Impact.hot.tech is my newsletter. And if you go to my Twitter, you'll find a link to all my articles, which you'll see me over on Digital Trends, Tom's Guide, Forbes, Android Police, and Crackberry, and whoever else agrees to let me write nonsense on the internet.
Exactly.
Thankfully, there's many places.
And I have to say, I love your newsletter. It's been really great to read your every weekish.
Yeah, so once a week, you get 7 things. It's called 7 Things at 7 p.m. Eastern, every Sunday. You get 7 top stories with my random musings, and there's always something interesting in there.
Always. And you know where to find me, folks. I'm at Tankgirl, TNKGRL, like the comic book character. Just drop the vowels, and that's my handle on everything. Twitter, Threads, Instagram, Blue Sky. By the way, I now have a Mastodon as well, so check that out.
Everyone still use Blue Sky.
And not really, but I'm still there. Some people are still there. And so, please chat with me and Nirav on the social about this podcast if you have questions or comments. And then, of course, the podcast is at mobiletechpodcast.com on all the platforms. So you can subscribe and tell your friends and, use the RSS feed if you want to be old school. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple, we're on YouTube Music, everything. So go subscribe. There is a YouTube channel, youtube.com/mobiletechpodcast. Got some videos. You'll see a video of my hands-on with the phone, the tablet, and the watch from Samsung today. So check that out. There is, of course, YouTube. So you subscribe, like, tell your friends, click the bell, comment about the videos, comment about the podcast. I'd love that. If you want to help me out, I've mentioned a few times, and for those of you on Patreon, we've shown you the Xiaomi phones a little bit close up. You can help me with a Patreon, because what you get in exchange of helping me is a video version of the podcast. So you get to see us every week, me and my guest, even when you do it remotely, of course. And it's $5 a month. And you get it in advance. You get it a day before the audio version. So you can hear us in advance. You can watch us in advance. And it's fun. And there's bloopers and extra stuff usually in there. So folks, please help me out on Patreon if you can. If you don't like Patreon, I get it. Just go ahead and click on the PayPal link and buy me a coffee. It's in the show notes. So that's basically it. I also want to thank our sponsor, Mint Mobile. You know I review a lot of phones, so I'm constantly juggling multiple devices. While that's fun, it also means I'm spending a lot of money for wireless service on multiple SIMs. Thankfully, there's Mint Mobile, and that's who I'm teaming up with for today's podcast. If you want to save money on your wireless service, switch to Mint Mobile. You've probably seen the Mint Mobile ads featuring Ryan Reynolds, but let me quickly tell you how fantastic their service is, especially for tech-savvy early adopters like us. Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for as low as $15 a month, and you don't have to sacrifice any coverage, speed, or data. They're built on the nation's largest 5G network. They keep costs low because they sell direct to you online. They cut out the retail stores and salespeople. Why should you pay more than you have to for access to the same network? In my experience testing phones, Mint Mobile delivers the same data speeds and call quality as the big three for a fraction of the cost. Switching to Mint is super easy. Thanks to their eSIMs, you can sign up and activate immediately right on your phone from the comfort of your home. No more standing around waiting in line at a big wireless store. You can keep your current devices and phone number and easily switch services. And if your phone isn't eSIM compatible, Mint will ship you a new SIM card free of charge. The whole process only takes 15 minutes, and if you get stuck, Mint has a great customer service team to get you through it. All Mint Mobile plans include unlimited nationwide talk and text, plus lightning-fast 5G and free mobile hotspot. Mint will show you how much data you use each month and recommend plans that save you money. Mint also offers a modern family plan that lets you set up a super affordable family plan with as little as 2 lines. Use my link, mintmobile.com/mobiletech, to get premium wireless starting at $15 a month. Stop paying more than you need on your wireless bill and start saving big with Mint Mobile. And I want to thank you, Narav, again.
No, you've had me. This is fun. I loved it.
Folks, stay tuned. We'll have a podcast next week, of course, and we'll have Narav on again in the future. Until then, cheers, everybody.
Toodles.
This has been the Mobile Tech Podcast with Tank Girl, proudly presented by worldpodcasts.com. You can visit us online at mobiletechpodcast.com.